trees in the backwoods night. Red lights cutting through the pine in flight. Bigfoot stomping with his youngling beard. Whispers of tales that ain't too clear. UFOs buzzing solo through the haze. Howling banshees set the forest ablaze. Jersey devil howls drink rays to the sky. Drunken cryptids party until the morning's night. Yeah. It's showtime, running wild in the moonlight. Stars burn down, watch the freaks all take flight.
To good times.
Raise your glasses to the mysteries divine. It's showtime, let the...
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Orton, and I do want to give a quick shout out to blademedia.com. Thank you, Dylan, for all the hard work on the logo. Make sure you guys go check out his wonderful work at Blade Media, BLAYED media.com. He's a great guy. He'll work hard for you, I promise. He'll take care of all your social media, multimedia needs. I can promise you that. Also, big news, you guys, of course, you know, the Arkansas Cryptid Fest is coming up. VIP tickets are still available for sale, so you definitely want to jump on there. Go to the link on Eventbrite. Get your tickets. Excuse me. We're still snowed in down here, so we're fighting the weather and being cooped up for 4.5 days. Anyways, yeah, the Cryptid Fest, it is June 6th. The Eventbrite tickets are available for sale. For the VIP pass, so you guys get a chance to do a meet and greet dinner with the speakers the night before. It's going to be a chance for you to talk with them, meet with them one-on-one. You get a little swag bag. You get some goodies and stuff from us as well. You're going to get a little VIP pass, you know, and you get a chance to go inside of Bart's where the speakers will be at and enjoy some air conditioning because it is going to be on June 6th and it's in Arkansas. So you want to, definitely cash in on that while you can. So that's on June 6th. So check out the links on the social medias. That's where it's going to be at. And of course, I am going to be speaking with the Wendell, don't kill me, the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel on March 21st. I'm going to be a speaker for the town hall meeting there in Ozark, Arkansas at Paradise Pizza. The event is free, and there's going to be expeditions going on all weekend long that I will be there. All you have to pay for is the food and drink you eat. And of course, if you're going to camp out, you got to pay for the camping spots, about $15. So if you guys want to join us for that, please shoot me a message, let me know, and get involved. I believe Chumming with the Spirits is going to be in on that one as well. But speaking of, you know, expos and festivals and events, our guest tonight, you guys, is a wonderful couple. I was lucky enough to be kind of located close to him. I was in one room, he was in the other room. We were kind of like similar side by side, but we had like the wall and then the bathroom in between us. So we were kind of popular because we had the bathroom right there by us. But I have Mr. and Mrs., Terry and Barbara Fox are coming on. And we had a very little time to communicate and talk because it was so busy there, you guys. It really was. But it was such a pleasure to meet you guys. So, Terry, Barbara, thank you guys for coming on the show. How you doing?
It's our honor, and we're located today. We have an office in Greenwood, Arkansas, which is downtown Greenwood, which is a little bit south of Fort Smith. So we're kind of in the same state. And then we work out of Wichita, Kansas. We have a team stationed in Wichita, which is kind of middle America. We can get to really all the Midwest there pretty easy. And then we have an office and a ministry in Corpus Christi, Texas, down in South Texas. And so we're able to pretty much cover the entire nation through these three offices. And it was a joy to get to meet you down in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was a great conference, and we just had a great time. And we've been anxious to get to meet you and get to share a little bit.
Yeah, we've had this on the books for quite a while, with your schedule, my schedule, and you're busy. You're a minister, so you're out there, preaching. You're battling every single day. But you're doing more than just battling every single day for what you do. As you said, where you're located at to where you can cover everybody pretty quick. Can you give everybody just a real quick, because I know what you do. You want to give everybody just a brief summary of what you do?
Sure. I pastored Southern Baptist churches for 40 plus years, large churches. I've been the lead pastor over 20,000 people in my career of being a pastor. And we worked out of Wichita, Kansas. I pastored a mega church in Wichita, Kansas, had about 9,000 members. And there we started getting people asking for help in the paranormal. And the word paranormal, covers a lot of things, different things about paranormal. Our part of the paranormal, we have a little slice of the pie, is more the demonic side of the paranormal. Paranormal means anything that's not normal. And you find very few Protestant pastors that are even willing to help people with paranormal issues. That primarily the Catholic Church has been kind of the leader in that particular area. And it's not so much that the Protestant churches don't believe in evil and demonic activity. It's just they've never been trained on really how to engage. So I've always known the difference in evil. I've always known that there's evil out there. There's an evil army. We like to tell people that for us, this is a ministry of helping people. It's not really a hobby for us. I've got a lot of friends that are on paranormal teams, and they do a great job, and it's kind of a hobby for them. It's we love it because about every month we get a call from 2 or 3 of these teams saying, "Hey, preacher, we found something bigger than us and meaner than us. We want you to come in and help us." So we like to tell people we go behind enemy lines, and we're special forces. And I say that with humility, because when you're battling dark things, the evil side of paranormal, not everything about paranormal is evil. And a lot of people get defensive about it when I talk about paranormal in the context of being evil. It's not necessarily evil. The spirit world is very much alive, and there's good and bad in the spirit world. And the part of what we do is try to discern the difference, what's going on here in the paranormal field. But as a pastor, I started helping people, and we had a young lady in Wichita, Kansas, who came to our church on a Sunday morning. I was in a hurry to leave to go to Corpus Christi. We were driving that trip. A lot of times we would fly 14 hours. So we set up a time to try to help her when we got back to Kansas. This case took us nationally. We were already doing pastoring and paranormal, but this event changed our world and changed our direction, our projection in ministry. She was a young lady that was having struggles in Wichita. We went to her home and visited with her. We attempted, as we do, deliverance ministry and exorcisms. The Protestant church is afraid to use the word exorcisms because it's such a Catholic term, but it's a great word. It means to exorcise. It means to remove. We in our area of Protestantism, they use more like deliverance ministry, which is basically the same thing. We cast out demons, evil spirits. She came and asked us for an exorcism. We went to her home in Wichita, and we were working with her. Exorcisms and deliverance is a process. You don't walk in there in 30 minutes and the battle's over with. That's a big misconception. People want an evangelist or an exorcist to come in and clean up everything. It's taken 30 years to screw up. And so we're not miracle workers, but we are good at what we do. We're trained. I need to tell you this in your audience. Pastoring those 45 years, a big part of those years, I served as a lieutenant with the Nueces County Sheriff's Office down in Texas. And then I worked for an organization called the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, which is a state police agency in Texas that enforces all the alcohol beverage laws and all the bars. And I was pastoring a pretty large church in Corpus Christi at that time, running about 1,500 on Sunday morning. And I was working with this TABC, the Alcohol Beverage Commission. We were state police officers. And the Banditos were very popular in Texas, South Texas. We had 31 topless bars. And it was kind of interesting that I would see some of my people on Friday and Saturday night and Sunday morning. They always say, "Well, Pastor Fox, what are you doing in here?" And I always say, "Well, I have a reason. What are you doing in here?" But anyway, that was always kind of a little bit interesting. But it was in the context of doing law enforcement. It's at that level that I didn't realize that 25 years later, I would be doing paranormal ministry. I was just a pastor and a police officer at the time. That was some of the best training. It was better than college and seminary. I learned how to deal with very difficult people. I learned how to go into very dark situations and live. And when you're dealing with banditos and recently, 2 years ago, we went to Bakersfield, California, and dealt with MS-13, a gang. Got threatened by them and told to leave California, and we go into places. So when I say special forces going behind enemy lines, that's kind of what we do. And I feel like God uniquely trained me to be able to do both, be a pastor and police officer. And then being a paranormal pastor and going up to Wichita, this kind of sets the foundation for that. This young lady, we went to her home, and she was in it was a very dark home. And we'll talk about that either on this podcast or many other ones. I'd love to share kind of what we look for when we go in a home and determine the level of darkness. You know, there's
Yeah,
different
please do.
powers, demons. There's different levels of darkness for homes, and and sometimes you can be fooled by that. So we have to be careful with it. But I'd love to share that at some point. That's kind of a specialized field of being able to know what to do when you get into these homes. What are you dealing with? What's the cure here? How can we help people? But the case in Wichita that went national, and we were on national media. We got interviewed because of this. The lady that we were helping, we was helping her with. We had not done a full exorcism. We'd been in her home twice. We found out that she had invited her family member, I think it's kind of a grandmother figure, to come over to her house.
Grandmother of her child.
A grandmother of her child, yeah.
Mhm.
And we didn't know anything about this. She had a restraining order on her. But anyway, while she came over there, we had left. We weren't there when it happened. She committed a murder, a homicide, and not just a homicide, but she literally severed the head of her grandmother and put the head in the kitchen sink. Well, because of my church being a visible church in Kansas, and the media found out that my ministry was involved with her, helping her. I mean, it went crazy. We were on, I don't know, Nancy Grace, the lady that took Nancy Grace's show, interviewed us on national. We did a lot of national interviews on crime shows that tied into exorcisms and crime, and it literally just launched us in a nationwide ministry. We were pretty busy before, but it was to the point, and we had a campus in Wichita and a campus in Corpus Christi, that the demand for help and calls became so great that I could not do both. I could not remain a pastor and do this. I had to make a choice of stepping down as a lead pastor, which I'd done for 40 years, which included a lot of great things, including a salary, to step out and do this ministry. But Barbara is a school teacher, and we felt that there's a need for the ministry to go into the area of the dark side of the paranormal. And frankly, we received a lot of flack. I went through a lot of hell from Baptist preachers and people that didn't understand what we're doing. And frankly, I'm okay with that. I pastored, my churches were large. I didn't need their endorsements to begin with. And just to be honest, God had blessed us, and I didn't care, to be honest with you, but I took a lot of heat when we made this move, and I got all kinds of emails from pastors. You're going to embarrass the church by bringing the church into this field, and what's so crazy about it? The paranormal field is really a subculture in itself. There are millions of people in the paranormal field, and how the church has ignored that is just beyond me. We've just missed it, and I'm not, and I just need to tell your audience this: I'm not your typical Baptist preacher. I'm not. I carry everywhere I go. Like I said, I work topless bars, and so I didn't ever wear a funny collar, and But my churches grew because I'm real, and I stood up and I preached the word of God, and I stood on the word, and God blessed us in some amazing, amazing ways. And the only thing I said to God is, if we're going to do paranormal ministry, deliverance, and exorcism full time, I said, God, I want you to give us your power to do this. We can't do it. We can't do it in our own power, because I'm telling you, you'll get your ass kicked out there. You'll get your ass handed to you. This is not something you play around with when you go into the dark side of the paranormal. And I have a few people, young pastors that, want to do a ride along, and, they want to go out and go with me. And I tell them, I say, this is not something that's safe. And I have made a mistake, and we can talk on one time. We can do a whole podcast on my mistakes, because I made a bunch of them, because there's no training for this. I have no role models. Now the Catholic Church does have some exorcists that I've studied under, and some in Rome, Father Lambert, out of Indianapolis. He's on YouTube. And if you're interested in an exorcist and exorcism, he is worth watching on YouTube. Father Lambert, he's in the diocese there in Indianapolis, and there's some more on YouTube. Uh, he's fantastic, and I'm grateful that I've trained and I've listened to everything they've said. But there's not a lot of training for this, especially in the Protestant field. There's just not.
Well,
I
let me
brought
let
in one mistake I've made is I brought in people I let join the team that were not prepared, and we had some mistakes from that, and we haven't had anybody hurt from it, but nearly. And I've learned a lesson from that. It's just like in the military with you, like in law enforcement, you don't put a gun on somebody and take them in the Banditos bar in Corpus Christi unless they're trained to do it. And so we have a lot of people that are interested in what we do, but we tell people it's very dangerous.
I agree. Let me let Okay, you blew me away with the whole Wichita thing real quick. So the lady that was in the church that y'all were gonna go help out, she had beheaded her grandmother?
That's
I mean,
correct. And because we were involved in helping her, the media found that out. And
well,
She
let's
was
talk about the case
it,
though. I mean, was she was actually possessed?
in our opinion, we had not come to that full conclusion. There's a process we use in making that determination. There's different levels of possession. You know, somebody can be influenced by demonic. Some people can be oppressed by demonic. But to come to the conclusion that someone is totally possessed, the word possessed means they have ownership. You have no power over it. When the demons take over a totally possessed person, they oftentimes don't even remember their name, who they are. And now we have done many full possessions. We have. We did one in Kansas City recently that was very violent and very difficult case. And I won't share. That's just another time we can get into. But the Wichita case, uh, we were not even ready to do a full exorcism, but we knew that there were demons involved. She'd had a traumatic brain injury at one point. She was using meth, and we all love to tell people we're convinced that meth is Satan's drug. We deal with people that are alcohol, all kinds of addicts. We help people. That's what we do. But meth is a unique drug for us. We call it the devil's drug, and uh, and we have found that you can do ministry, but you can't do an exorcism with somebody that's intoxicated. You just cannot do that. So we had talked to her about cleaning up some things, and we help her do that, or we help clients do that. And so we were in the middle of that process. We have not declared that she was totally demon possessed, but obviously, you know, it's one thing to commit a murder. And we, in that home I was in, it was a very dark home. She had black crosses painted all over the place in that home. I told my associate, Janie Swinford, who lives in Wichita, Kansas, she travels with me a lot. I told Janie, and we walked outside, I said, the best thing to do is burn this house down. And she said, out of all these cases we've done a lot more since then. But at that point, she said, I've never heard you make a comment to how evil it is in that house. And there'd been some child molestation in the house earlier. We knew about that. But to have a homicide where someone is beheaded, and of course the homicide detectives got involved because they felt like maybe that we were going to use that as a defense, that, you know, to get her off from the homicide charge, which we did not. They didn't realize I'm more cop than they were, you know, and they were all worked up and banging on the doors, and they were all in panic mode, just making the assumption the church was going to defend her actions. And I told them, I said, we might explain them, but it's not our job to defend what's happened here. And but to be honest with you, that thing got a lot of publicity. I mean, it went everywhere, national news. And what we found out is there's so few people that are willing to do this ministry. Now, I will tell you, I think that your audience would like to hear this. The media I'm a conservative. I just need to tell you, I believe the Bible and I preach it. I'm not a fuddy duddy. I'm not an idiot. I live a real life. But at the same time, I believe in what the Word of God says. It's not my job to change it. So I've always stood on the principles of the Scriptures and the morality of the Scriptures. Even though I fall short personally, and everyone listening to us, we all do. But the Bible is the standard, and it's not our job to change that standard. And I've always preached it. And the media in that town respected me in a weird way. They would come to my church every time there was something that happened in the city, especially Middle East, Israel, anything to do biblically. I was in the media a lot. I did a live talk radio show for 2 hours on Sunday nights for many years, and I talked about politics and religion. And it wasn't associated with my church. I did it. It was for profit. I did it so that I could endorse whoever in the heck I wanted to endorse. I could do things on Sunday night and I could say things there I couldn't in my pulpit on Sunday morning. And that show got syndicated. We were on Sirius Radio. I had another pastor co-host it with me. And because of that, we were very media savvy. They watched us, they listened to us. So when this case came up about Terry Fox being involved in a homicide situation, trying to do an exorcism with this person, it just exploded for us. And we haven't stopped and looked back since. I mean, it just went crazy. I wonder how many times people even find out who we are. We get about, what would you say, Barbara, 40 to 60 requests a month for help. Yeah. Jump in here.
So, one of the things that was really
Hi,
cool
Miss
about
Barbara.
yeah, one of the really cool things about that case was that, because this woman had kept texting Terry, "I need an exorcism." And so it was in her phone. So when the police were investigating the murder, they knew that Pastor Terry was involved because of this. So, um, honestly, we were kind of worried about the media that they would just slaughter us because we hadn't helped her in time.
So they did. They tried to do that.
Yeah, they tried, but
They don't believe in exorcisms. If somebody tried to do one and it didn't help, then we're going to slam the church and slam what we do.
yeah. But what happened was the Catholics in the area really took a stand and stood up for Terry. Tell them what happened there.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Wichita's a pretty Catholic city, and it made the very front. We made the front page of the paper up there, which today papers are not very important, but even a few years ago they were a bigger deal. The papers were, but the Catholic diocese came out in defense of what we were doing, and they reviewed our case, what we had done, our procedures, what we were doing.
You tell them you'd taken her out to eat.
Yeah, we had fed her. She didn't have any food. We'd paid to get her light bill turned on for her. We do this as a ministry. You can't help people till you get them well enough to help them. And like I said, we try to get them off the meth and we try to get them something to eat. We find jobs for people. We help them get their driver's license back again. My team really hangs in there with them, and we're not just we don't just show up one time and leave. And we had helped her a lot. But there is a procedure that we use that you have to discern before you do an exorcism. Is this something that is a psychological issue? Is this a medical issue? And we got some policies that we do before we will commit to doing, quote, an exorcism, a full blown exorcism. We'll pray for anyone. Prayer never hurts anyone. But there's some procedures that we follow that protect us legally. Also, we have papers that people sign. It's just, you're vulnerable. That's all I can say. You're going into an area that's not well known, and we had not attempted an exorcism with her, but the procedures that we had used, the Catholic Church defended us. I mean, it was a front page of the paper, Sunday morning paper in Wichita. And that did nothing but enhance and embrace us even more, to be honest with you and your audience. I mean, people said, wow. But what surprised us is there was so few people out there that would be willing to do this. And I tried, and I pastored another 3 years after that case broke. But I just got so busy. I had to make up my mind. Either I'm going to do this ministry or pastor a church. We get people calling us. They're desperate and they will plead with us. We'll pay your plane fares. We'll do whatever it takes to get you to come. People call us crying in the middle of the night. I checked it the other day. I personally, and our team probably does even more than I do. I spend at least 6 to 6.5 hours a day, every day on the phone, usually at nighttime. I mean, I'm busier at 3 a.m. in the morning than I am at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And, and trying to pastor a big church and do all those things. So we shifted into full-time ministry about 5 years ago. We located back in Arkansas. I grew up here. This was my home. We had a home paid for in Arkansas, which, helped us financially, not to have to, it was just financially good for us. Barbara still teaches high school mathematics, and that helps us do this ministry because we said if we're going to do it, we're going to do it for free. We're not going to charge people, and we don't put people on a guilt trip and say, well, you don't have to pay us, but it'd sure be nice if you did. We just don't do that. We help people. And we learned that if God is in something, he'll find a way to pay it. And it's been amazing how that God has raised up. We have about 10 or 12 families that will provide the office rent for us, a car. None of us take a salary, but they provide the expenses and the travel expenses. And that's pretty cool. Sometimes we'll go help somebody that honestly could help us, go help other people that don't. But it's usually somebody that's just average. We'll write a check that'll blow you away and say, we want to invest in what you're doing. What if you hadn't come to help us? We'd be dead today.
Right.
And so that's why we shifted from pastoring into full-time paranormal ministry. And the term paranormal pastor, even that gets attention out there. A lot of people say, well, I didn't know there was a paranormal pastor. And I said, I didn't either until I became one. Again, the seminaries and Bible colleges do not teach, the Protestant ones do not teach anything about what I do. And to me, that's a real tragedy. And I just would say this on the biblical side, it's getting darker. It's going to get darker as the days go on. It's getting more violent. And I think that the church is going to have to wake up one of these days and wise up and quit hiding behind the steeple and realize that that evil is rampant. It's out there, and we have the right message to help people. And that's why I said earlier to your audience, we don't do this as a hobby. We do it as a ministry, and we come at it from a biblical worldview. Now, we have people ask us about sage and salt and paranormal things. I don't have any problems with it. Do whatever, if it helps you. Maybe sometimes it gives them confidence, and that helps a little bit. But I know there's power and authority in the one who made us, the creator. And we go in the name of Jesus, and we believe there's power in the spoken word of Jesus Christ and the blood of Jesus. We'll talk about our book a little bit later. We have an entire chapter where we have different kinds of prayers. When you go to the doctor, he doesn't give you the same medicine every time. When there's something paranormal going on, we try to discern what's going on. Well, there's different prayers that work differently. Like if your children are under attack, if you're doing an exorcism of a property, that's totally different, which I personally love doing. We're getting calls now from major companies that are inviting us to come in and do a blessing in their entire facilities for them. Some of them takes us half a day to walk through them and pray over them. And
Wow.
which isn't that pretty cool? You think about it. And, the media would have you to think that if we're paranormal people like you and me, we're all crazy idiots out here. These are people that are just crazy. It's funny. I promise you, the majority of the people in America understand there's things they don't understand. And that's what paranormal is. Falk, Arkansas, I grew up going to Falk. And anyway.
Well, I'm going to back that up
real
real quick, though. I'm going to support you with that. What statement right there, you said that most Americans do believe in this stuff and they do follow it. Look at the TV shows. There's so many TV shows out there that involve the paranormal. The
follow
paranormal
the money,
investigators.
right?
Yep, exactly.
Follow the money.
And it's out there. They know it, So which is why they produce these shows. They put them out there because, people believe it and they want to see it.
Well, and honestly, the enemy is strategic. And a lot of people open up portals that they don't intend to open up. And we don't go in, by the way, and I want your audience to know this. We don't go in judgmental. I know what some people are thinking. Well, Terry Fox is a Baptist preacher, and so he's walking in with a 40-pound King James Bible and going to hit us on the head. That's not who we are. Listen, we're all a mess, and every one of us, and that's why Jesus died for us. And we don't go in judgmental. I know the church kind of is known for that. Unfortunately, sometimes, we're better than you, and shame on you for getting yourself into this situation. And people feel bad already about what's going on. They're embarrassed. Many times they're afraid to even tell someone what's going on because they're afraid they'll lose their job or their reputation. And we're extremely confidential. We are pastors, and we
don't think they're crazy.
Yeah, people. Well, yeah, they'll think they're crazy. And I know we have clients that's lost jobs. They've lost family members, marriages over these kind of things. It's tough. And one thing I love about what we do is we're very, very confidential, and we're not going to burn anyone. My church I go to here in Greenwood, Arkansas, it's a small town, about 10,000, 12,000 people, and we're working cases in Greenwood. And the first thing people ask is, are we safe doing this? Because, you can dream about something here in Greenwood, and by noon the next day, everybody knows what your dream was, So we try to guard that. We try to guard that and help people because, we don't want to embarrass them, but we don't judge them. We don't judge them. And sometimes the demonic side of the paranormal is assigned to you. Some people are not even aware they're opening those portals in their life. The Bible talks about generational demons that are assigned to families. We were in Kansas in a small town not long ago, and I was praying over this guy. And when I do a deliverance ministry, I literally, I do a little bit different. I command the demons that are assigned to these people and to this property to come forth. I don't walk in there and throw holy water and oil around and say, just get the hell out of here. I want to know what's in there. And you know what? Maybe they would leave, but they're going to come back the minute I get in my car and leave. And so I do my ministry. We bring these demons forth. I want to know what demons are here, and we talk to them. And that's what our book deals with, actions that we've had with real demons. And in a conversation with the demons, and I think this might be in the book, this story, I asked the demon, how long have you been assigned to this family? And it said to me, I believe I'm right, 1,700 or 1,500 MF in years. And then the demon started telling all the people that in that generation that they had helped kill, like through suicide, through all kinds of things. Well, there was a family member there that was a skeptic, and there usually is one or two there, who didn't even believe about what we were doing. He broke down, and he told me afterwards, he says, my God, I can't believe it. He said, no one knew what that demon knew. And we always thought that was a suicide. We weren't for sure. And that demon had exposed that the demons were involved in the suicides of these families through the years. And, and so when we talk about portals, it's not sometimes using a Ouija board. It's not sometimes listening to the deaf music that's out there. I mean, that can do it. It's not watching R-rated scary movies. Let's be honest. Half the people in America do it. The people in the church say they don't, and they're the ones that sneak out and go to the midnight movies and watch all of them, So we try not to judge people, and we try to go in and help people.
I think that a new portal nowadays, honestly, is taken over is these things right here.
Absolutely.
Even the laptops that we have, prime example, and I've thrown this out there to people before. It's like, what is the internet? What is it? Is this a place we can go visit? Can I go knock on the door? Can I go to the office of this place? Is there somebody I can talk to who's in charge of the internet?
Mm-hmm. I want to tell you this. I wouldn't.
Al Gore, says that he, created the internet, but I mean, we can't go talk to Al Gore.
Yeah, he says a lot of things, and he's for global warming. We're about to freeze to death in Arkansas. But anyway,
yes, we are. We are freezing. But through here, the power of what we put on our little black mirrors and what we do and everything, I believe in some aspects is a manifestation. Through for about the past 20 years. There's been some new cryptids that have popped in, some new paranormal creatures, Slender Man being one of them, to where there's actually Slender Man sightings, to where I wonder through creepypastas and stuff like that, to where these people generated and created it. When I was growing up, one of the big things was Bloody Mary. Sleepover, slumber party, everybody goes to the bathroom, turn the lights off, spin around 3 times, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Even in school, we did it in school,
Yeah, see? But ironic enough, you can go ask anybody who did it, and they'll say they saw something. We did.
Yeah.
But I think it's because we manifested something coming through, and that's what we wanted to see.
So 3 years ago, we were invited to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it's a little town outside of Minneapolis. It's all in the metro area of Minneapolis. And it was a pastor and his wife. And they had done it. They had started a ministry of gaming where they would go on the gaming sites and try to get to become friends with these people. Well, in the process, she got literally possessed, the pastor's wife did, by a demon that she picked up through the gaming. And that was one difficult case in Minnesota. We were up there for several days. It ended up costing their ministry. It ended up costing their marriage. She literally got possessed by going out, and her intentions were good to go out to the gaming thing they were youth pastors to try to help some of these kids
to witness,
to witness to them and try to be their friend. But I learned then that a person can get possessed because what these demons are looking for is a portal is just an opportunity. It's an opening, but it's an opportunity. So here was a youth minister, a wife, and I'm talking about she took on different personalities. She would turn into a little girl, different things. I mean, it was full possession with her. And we dealt with that in Minnesota 3 years ago. In fact, 3 years ago this week. And the reason I know is I saw my Facebook. It was bringing up pictures from that trip today. 3 years ago today, we were in Minnesota helping someone. So you're right. These portals are there. And like you said, this right here, it's good and bad, but it can certainly be a portal.
I agree. And, to a lot of these sightings and stuff that we're having, and like you were talking earlier about, it's out there. I believe that our perception of it is getting stronger. I think it's not getting stronger. I think it's always been there. We're just now becoming more aware of it. If you
Yes.
talked about, we were talking about the church earlier. If you look back 150 years ago, the church's belief system and what they handled was totally different versus what we're dealing with now. There was a
That's
lot
right.
more supernatural to it, a lot more paranormal to it. Nowadays,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
A few years ago, before I even started the show, about 4 years ago, fascinated with the Old Testament. Fascinated. There's so much
Mhm.
paranormal, supernatural.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
Mhm.
cryptids, there's giants. I mean, there's everything in there
Yeah.
you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made an appointment with a big preacher here, a big church, big guy. I knew him. He had been one of my prior Swan customers. Scheduled an appointment. We go in there. He had just bought a Jeep. I have a Jeep. So we were talking about Jeeps and everything and, all that fun stuff. And he finally goes, he goes, well, Matthew, what brings you here? I said, okay, let's talk about Genesis. I'm really curious. I want to dig into Genesis 6 and I want to have a good conversation about this. And he looked at me and he goes, I just focus on the New Testament. I do Matthew, Mark, Luke, and, and I went, I am so sorry for wasting your time. I apologize. And that's when I felt like I wasted his time. But that
Yeah.
right there said, it kind of clicked into my head to where, the church has gotten away. And it's not just Baptists, Lutherans, Mormons, Catholics. It's all of them. They've gotten away from
No.
the whole basis of why the church was created in the first place. And that was to prepare us for a spiritual battle against these evil forces. Now
Yeah.
it's totally
Matthew,
different.
can I say something here? I feel led to say this. I want to say it's your audience. This is not a church meeting, and we're not trying to bring anybody into a particular church. I want our audience to know that there is a difference in a relationship with Jesus versus, quote, the church. I think a lot of people have rejected religion and not Jesus. And what we do, we in our ministry last year, we had 60 people, 63 to be exact, who we believe received Christ as their Savior, because we're not ashamed of that. When we go in their homes, we're traveling all across America. We believe that true deliverance. If you take something away and take something out, you got to put something in. You can't leave that void there. Something else will come back in there. And I want our audience to know that when we talk about religion, and people have rejected religion, there's a difference in a relationship with Jesus versus religion. Now, churches have a good thing. I mean, I'm for churches. I've built them for 40 years. I gave my life for them. But that's not what we go in there. We're not trying to go get somebody to go join the biggest church downtown or the smallest church. We want people to have a relationship with Jesus. And to me, I wanted that to be on the record, because I think a lot of people think, well, they're trying to build the church. The church will grow. In fact, the Bible says, Jesus said, I will build my church. It's not our job to build the church. And we love going and sharing that there's hope, and what's really fun about what we got to do, our 63 people that received Christ in our ministry last year, these are people that would never go to the church I go to. They're not going to walk in First Baptist Church. First of all, if they did, they probably wouldn't be welcome. I hate to say it. A lot of people we minister to, they're tattooed from their head to the feet they're different people. Yeah, kind of like us. But anyway, we want to win people to the Lord because deliverance is real. But what I love about what I get to do is I get to share the true evangelism, true gospel with people that are not going to walk into church on Sunday morning. Some will, thank God. When I was on TV and talk radio, I would talk about, I believe there's somebody out there that's going to kill themselves this week. You're planning on it. And I would go through that. I don't know why I knew that. It's scary if I told you later on the people walked my office and said, here's the gun I was going to use. God uses different things. He sure does. When the paranormal, I spoke over in Oklahoma last week to about 150 men that were there. I guess 125 exactly, men. And they were some pastors and some just Christian men. It was a men's rally on a Tuesday night. We had a dinner and they invited me to come preview our book and talk. And I said to them, how many of you believe in the paranormal world? Well, they very few of them raised their hands. And I says, well, then you need to quit going to church. I said, then you're a big hypocrite. And I said, and I held up the Bible and I said, this whole book is paranormal, just like you made the point a while ago, right?
Yep.
And so
100%.
that's why I'm saying there's a need out there for the paranormal, because for the Christian people, the spirit world is alive. And by the way, you talk about the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And that's the terms people know. We call the Holy Spirit the mighty spirit. When we're out working with people in the homes, instead of the Holy Spirit, we talk about the mighty spirit, because they already know their spirits in that house. They already know them. That they talk to these demons, talk to people. They hear voices all day long, but we love to tell them, okay, there's tons of spirits out there, but we're here to talk to you about the mighty spirit. There's one that's more powerful than all of them. And I just tell these people that the mighty spirit can kick their butts. Yeah, I said, you like to be on the winning team or the losing team? Make up your mind. We're here to tell you how to get on the winning team, and the mighty spirit can defeat all the other evil spirits. And so it's a battle out there, but we love what we do. I hope your audience can tell tonight we're passionate about this, because we love that we get to do it.
Well, I can tell you're passionate about it. So I have a very smart
I'm sorry
audience.
if I'm preaching too much. I wasn't going to preach tonight, but I'm really not preaching, but I'm going to tell you something. I love the paranormal field. I've got to tell you, I love the fact going in and trying to figure out what spirits are in a house. And I love the history. And by the way, you got to work your butt off to do paranormal right? If you do it right. And I know there's a bunch of fakes out there, but to do it right, it's a lot of work. And I'm not talking about just the 4 hours. Usually when we're in a home doing anything, Barbara will tell you, it's 3.5, 4 hours on our feet, working even with paranormal teams that we work with here in Arkansas and different places. It's hard work, but man, we love doing it. It's an exciting field. And I love the paranormal. I think more and more people are waking up to the reality of paranormal, and I think it's cool. I think all of us, I think what you're doing with this podcast, and I think what we're doing is cutting edge for the future.
I agree
Fox
100%.
News and all those big networks. Listen, what we're doing here tonight is going to cut into those pies, and there's going to be more and more eyeballs come to us in the days to come.
No, I agree. There's more and more people coming to podcasts now for information, because it's going to be raw and unfiltered. That's one thing I like about my show. It's raw and unfiltered, unscripted. We didn't, all we talked about before we, hit the record button was the fest coming up. Y'all been out, working your tails off. And I was like, okay, let's go. Boom, record. So then none of this is, that's what I love about my show. And more people want to come.
I want to endorse your conference ministries and the events you're doing. We need the podcast. We need to do what we're doing tonight. We're sitting in our home. We're both snowed in Arkansas, but it never will take the place of actually doing the actual conferences. And I'm glad you have a passion for that, by the way. And we're going to try our best to come to some of these events.
I appreciate that.
I want people to come, and they need to tie on to you. And there's a lot of people out there that watch you, but they haven't joined in yet. They haven't subscribed, and they need to do that. And they need to hitch their wagon to what you're going to be doing. And I just want to endorse that, because we talked about different kinds of conferences before the show a little bit, and there's not very much opportunity out there, honestly. And I hope you'll run with that. And I think you'll be surprised if we will offer quality conferences and bring in, and it's okay to have a diversity. I'm not offended if somebody thinks I'm an idiot. If I hadn't fought demons myself, I would think I'm an idiot. Okay. This book, I tell people, when you read it and you think we're crazy, that's all right. You wouldn't offend me, but we know it's real because we experienced it. And anyway, so I love conferences, and I hope you'll do many of those in the days to come.
Well, I plan on, it's my first year doing one, so I'm real excited for it. And I hope it, I'm not trying to make money off of this thing. What I'm trying to do is create an opportunity for normal people to come and listen to people they would never get an opportunity to listen to before.
That's right.
The only main speaker that I have this year is Todd Neese, great friend of mine, great friend of the show. Was lucky enough to meet him through my buddy Tony, and we've just hit it off. And he, I told him what I wanted to do. He said, I'll do it for free. That's all I want to do. I want to help you out. Everybody else, though, Michael Cook, who was featured in, he's written some books. He was featured on These Woods Are Haunted. I had an episode there, and he's coming on. He reached out to us. He heard about it. He wanted to come out and
Right.
do this for free. So, God
Right.
has blessed me with speakers coming in, and then I wanted to give a chance for, other shows like mine to be speakers and speak.
For sure.
I good friends of mine, Justin and Jay from Cryptids of the Corn up in Ohio. They do a
Mhm.
jamboree now. They're going to do the third one this year. I was lucky enough to
Cool.
be a speaker for them last year. So they're going to be here. I got Miss Monsters of Mullets, a great guy out of Indiana, John, Nevermore Hollows out of Tennessee, Dano with the Cryptid podcast coming in from Wisconsin. If I'm wrong,
Cool.
Dano, I just drew a blank. Don't get mad at me.
Yeah.
But he's up north, like Canada. Yeah, Dano, you're from Canada. You're so far up north, you're Canadian. But
Those
there's
other
so
people are okay. Those other people are
yep,
okay, but we Arkansas Razorbacks, I mean, we're the best.
that's
But
right. Pig suey,
we'll let
baby.
everybody else come, But
Exactly.
no, I'm proud you're doing it. Seriously,
Well,
I'm
thank
proud that
you.
you're doing it,
But good
and I
speakers,
think
and
there's a need for it.
I agree. And people are coming to these events. People are coming to these shows because they have an interest. Not only have they had an interest, but they've had an encounter and they're nervous about it. They want to hear, like, okay, I had a crazy encounter in 2002. I've talked about it on other shows. So, if you guys want, email me. I'll tell you what shows they're on. You can go listen to them. It's about my, Fort Hood encounter. I got introduced a podcast a couple of years ago by Jacob because we were talking again one night and it got brought up. And I was like, I just want to know what it was. And he goes, well, listen, I was listening to this one show. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what a podcast really were. I got told in 2020 to do one. I didn't know what it was. But so Jacobs, he pointed out a couple shows and I found a few and I started listening to them. And there was one episode on Sasquatch Chronicles by Wes Germer. And the way the guy was talking about it, I went, whoa. That's really kind of eerily similar to what I had. And then I think about 6 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago on the confessionals with Tony Merkel, he had these guys come on from Tennessee, Alabama. One of those is right there on the border. Well, their nightly encounter, these two hunters did. And everything was so similar to what I encountered in Texas. So, that's how I got involved into being able to podcast, reach out and have other people come on the show because it is a way of kind of freeing up and kind of, and you feel like you're not alone. Like we were talking about at the beginning of the show,
Yeah.
When people are having
Right.
these things happen to them, they feel alone. They feel scared. They're going to be judged. They'll be made fun of. Lose your job, lose your spouse, lose your income, lose your status, which is horrible to say that now. For us to be able to do what we're doing, even, with the ministry, with the podcasting, that's what's going to get to the people, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And more people are waking up and realizing that, we had a big technology surge in our country for the past 50, 60 years, and we've gotten away from some of the natural things in life, and God is part of that natural thing in life. This isn't God, and so it's, that's what people want to do. They're getting back into it. They're finding out, like I said earlier, I think 150 years ago, we changed.
You're
I
right.
think the
You're
direction
right.
of all the
We did.
churches changed. They got away from, and it became more about a numbers game. And it's not a bash on any church though, but it became a numbers game to a lot of ways, and got away from the actual basis of preparing people for the spiritual battle that we dealt with every single day.
You're right. When I was a kid growing up here in Greenwood, I had some friends that were from South Arkansas, and they worked up here. They worked on, they built bridges across the country, including Arkansas. And they invited me. I was about 12 years old. They invited me to go to Falk, Arkansas. Of course, the Falk Boggy Creek Monster and all that. And I have to be honest and tell you, I've never seen the Boggy Creek Monster. We went out there in the middle of the night and played around. But I'm going to tell you something. I believe with all my heart those people had seen something. They were not liars. And and even at that young age, that opened my mind to the paranormal, because uh, first of all, it wouldn't be safe to call some of those guys liars if in Falk, Arkansas. Just first of all, I wouldn't recommend that. But
No.
seriously, you can deny the paranormal field all you want to. Some people try to do it, but the reality is it's real, and people are waking up to it, and they're going to be coming to these podcasts. They're going to be coming to conferences. And I think we need to do a good job making them legitimate, making them first class, bring in speakers that are real, that have experienced this stuff. And because, there's fake preachers and there's fake doctors, there's fake everything out there. But I think the kind of people you're talking about a while ago, they have credibility. And I think credibility is something really important for the paranormal field. And I think because of being a Southern Baptist preacher, it embarrasses all the Baptists that I'm a paranormal pastor now. Whether they like it or not, I bring credibility to this field because for 40 years, I walk the walk and talk the talk. And so I love that part of it. But the paranormal, there is a paranormal explosion out there. And I think, what I think part of it is, we got cameras now everywhere that are catching things, not just game cameras anymore. We've got cameras everywhere. And I think that is going to cause part of this explosion. Don't you? All the cameras. My house right now has cameras everywhere, and
I agree.
where do you go anymore? There's not cameras.
Oh, I agree 100%. So I love the title Paranormal Pastor. I'll be honest with you, that's how I'm going to name the episode, Paranormal Pastor. Because the audience is going to want to know, they're probably dying for me to ask you this. What was probably the most intense or scariest encounter you had? Or the realest. So, I mean, the one that just really was in your face that kind of
the biggest one
and made you feel good for what you're doing.
Okay. Great question. The biggest one, honestly, is probably yet to come. And when I say that they're getting more intense. They're getting more intense. We dealt one in Kansas City where I had not ever experienced. My team very seldom gets touched. We don't get hurt. And now we've seen the levitation several times. And I usually take authority. And to me, and again, we ought to do a whole podcast sometime on the authority. You take authority in the spirit world. There is a rank and file, just like the military. And you have to have authority, and your authority matters in paranormal. Even the evil side is limited to their authority. Some demons can't do what other demons can do. And on the good side, different pastors, different people have more authority. And some of that comes through prayer, and some of it comes through God's calling in your life, God's anointing in your life. But we were in Kansas City, and we got into a very difficult situation, and I didn't know what was going to happen to us. And we got pushed. The person that we were praying over was sitting in a chair. Her husband had just got out of prison about maybe a year ago, big old guy. And he was standing behind her, kind of holding her while we were doing the exorcism. We were praying over her, and a force hit us, and it shoved us we were in the living room. It shoved us all the way across the living room into the kitchen. We went into the kitchen so hard and fast that we knocked over the kitchen table, broke dishes, and it slammed us up against the wall. And I had never experienced that. I've seen people get scratched when I was there. I've had team members that would have 3 scratches, and literally bloody scratches. And when we first did this for the first few years, we never even had anything like that happen. Now, I go into places now, I think because of you and your podcast, we're getting more known. We went into Oklahoma where a priest got hurt trying to do an exorcism, and we went into there. That was pretty intense. We had some things broken in that house. We're going to San Antonio, Texas, later this year, where a priest was killed doing a exorcism on that property, trying to cleanse that property. So it could be that I'm going to more extreme cases, perhaps. But in the Kansas City thing woke me up that I don't care how good you are at this and how experienced you are, you can get hurt in this field because you're dealing with things that are supernatural and they're more powerful. We have to walk through the door. They come through the wall, and they can do things that we cannot do. They have strengths that we don't have. And I just would say, I don't know about the scariest thing, the thing in Kansas City, I didn't know how we were going to get out of that. And I'll just tell you that it ended up being great. The lady got a full exorcism. We were there 3.5 hours. They had a dog that was in a kennel, kind of a kennel thing, and he was trying to bite through the kennel to get out. But I think he thought we were hurting her because we were praying over her. It was a wild night in Kansas City. And usually our team will go out and eat afterwards or something. Of course, you got to find something that stays open all night because we're out all night.
Waffle House.
We did not have the energy to even go out and eat. All we wanted to do was go home, go back to our hotel rooms, and debrief what had happened. we've been in situations like that, maybe not as extreme as that. Most of the time they're not that extreme, but this stuff is real. And when you get into the field of exorcisms, that's different than going and looking around and doing an investigation in a house you think may be haunted. And there's a difference, and a lot of the Christian church would take issue with me on this. But again, I have a seminary degree, college degree. I know what I'm talking about. And there's a difference in what I call ghosts that were human at one time versus demonic entities. A demon was never human, and a demon will never die. In fact, they'll go to hell someday and burn in hell forever, but they're not going to die. And so, honestly, and people will argue with me in the scriptures all day long, but I know I've studied it. I know what I'm talking about. There's a difference in a spirit that was a human spirit at one time versus a demonic spirit that was a part of the rebellion with Satan and his army. And so part of our situation during these cases, so the more intense ones are the ones that are more demonic. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of figured that, but I like what you said earlier too, though, that not everything paranormal is evil. Not
No,
everything paranormal
no.
is demonic. And there's so many shows out there to where everything everywhere they go, right off the bat, hey, it's another demonic haunting. Oh, it's another demonic haunting. But you're talking about being drained. I was lucky enough to go with Chumming the Spirits to the Sally House up in Kansas.
Yeah, yeah.
This year, right? In September of last year. And now, granted, I had worked a little bit that morning, drove up there, but I was so drained when we finished
Yes.
up for the night. And
Yes.
I remember JD telling me, he goes, "Hey, it's just about a 30-minute drive to the hotel." That was the longest 30-minute
30 minutes.
drive to the
Yeah.
hotel. And
Yeah.
my goal was, when I got there, I was gonna rinse off. I didn't. I just walked in, plopped on the bed, out. It was
Yeah.
gone. So,
Yeah.
these things,
Um,
they're very, very, very life draining
that
to
that they drain you. Uh, like I said, when I worked law enforcement 12, 14 hours, worked the beach and all that, we'd come home tired. But a 3-hour exorcism or even an investigation, that we're so tired. Honestly, we could lay down in the middle of the highway and go to sleep. We're literally that tired after doing one of these, and that's supernatural too. That shows you that our psychic, all of our makeup is being affected by things you can't see in there. And a lot of times it's not what I hear. I can hear demons. I can speak to demons. I'm not a medium. I don't talk to the dead because I really don't want to talk to the dead. That's just me. What I want to do is I do address those demons. I want to mention earlier in the show, I mentioned that when we do an exorcism, we don't go in and just scatter them out. We go in and we bring them forth. And our team wants to know why these demons are there, what kind of demons they are, what their purpose in this person's life is. And then we work against that purpose biblically. And it's usually a 3.5-hour process if you do it right. And it wears everybody out.
Well, so by speaking of that, okay, so earlier you'd mentioned generational demons. So, and that
Yes.
kind of brought to mind, the term a lot of people use nowadays, the generational curse. And to me, I'm thinking it goes hand in hand. So,
Yes,
as people believe they're
that's right.
generationally cursed, they're probably going to be, generationally possessed, or
Yeah.
however
What
it
is
looks.
the
Where,
curse? What is the
yeah,
curse? It's, who carries out the curse? Well, it's demonic entities that have been assigned to that family. It's kind of like a bloodline. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up in Arkansas as a kid, people would say, well, that guy's a bad guy, or those kids, they got bad blood in them. You ever hear that? Bad blood in them. And that what they meant by that is their fathers and they had a whole history of prison and killing and all those kind of things. Well, there's something to that. I don't think it's the blood. I think it's what's attached to that blood. And again, you know, and one thing about when we go in to do these things, it's not a church service. I mean, the language there that's used and the when we go into battle with those things, it's not a typical Sunday morning church service. You know, it's a battle. Is what I'm trying to say. It's a true battle, and it's not easy. It's not easy to do. And I don't recommend people do this unless there's a calling to do it. Now, if you want to just go have fun with some paranormal teams and watch their equipment work, that's pretty cool. You're probably not going to get possessed by going out and watching a paranormal team work. But I'll tell you, when you go out and you engage the demons, see the uniqueness is what we do. We engage the demons on behalf of these people, and I feel like that it's a rescue, honestly. And we call ourselves Special Forces for the Lord, and we are, in my opinion, in the context of ministry, Special Forces. But it's it's real. It's real, and it's nothing to take lightly. And and there's good and bad in the paranormal. We've had situations where I'm convinced that the good side of the paranormal came and helped us fight the bad side of the paranormal. Like in Kansas City, we had some help in there. I promise you, we wouldn't have walked out of there because that demon said to me, I know your gun is there and I know it's loaded. The demon said that to me. And I noticed that the demon possessed person kept looking at my bag over there. Normally I have the weapon on me, but I didn't have it. And that's how serious that is. That demon knew exactly where that gun was. I asked her husband when that demon said that to me, I said, do you have a loaded gun in the house? Yeah, I do. I said, go hide it. Well, he got up and went to hide the gun because I was afraid that she was going to, or not her, but what's in her is going to go after that weapon. As soon as he walked out of the room, that demon said to me, do you think I don't know where he's hiding that? And now there may be people in the audience that don't believe what I just said is true. It is true. That happened to us. And that's why those cases can get very intense. And to be honest with you, Matthew, they can be dangerous. They can be dangerous. It's one thing to acknowledge demons are there. It's another thing when you engage to do battle with them. And that's what we do, and we're called to do it. But I don't recommend everybody doing it. I've never encouraged someone to be an exorcist unless you're called to do this. You know, my kids are not going to follow in this ministry. I hope. I mean, if they do, God will have to make them do it. Don't worry, they don't want it. You know, my kids don't want it. I promise you. But it's to be taken seriously. But I also think it's an honor to get to go and fight for somebody that you don't even know, and help people. And that's what I love doing. I learned that these demons are bullies. They're terrorists, is what they are. And the more of those that we can eliminate, the better we are for it. And that's my opinion.
No, I agree. And again, it goes back to the church trying to, getting away from what the basis of what the church is there for was to prepare us spiritually for the spiritual battle. And
Yeah.
I feel like that,
Well,
they
exactly.
got away from it, so, and
Mhm.
now, like you said, now I feel like it's a numbers game out there.
It is.
You
It
know?
is. But it's an honor. It's and knowledge is power.
Yes.
And you never go to war. I'm sure you use strategy because of your military background and who you are. You don't go to war with your enemy without knowing your enemy. You better know more about your enemy than they know about themselves, right?
Yep.
Same thing in this
Exactly.
paranormal field. You
Well,
better know.
well, that's good because like for us, a lot of times in the cryptid community, when we go out there, we have an idea what we're dealing with, but at the same time, it's you don't know. Like I don't know the capabilities of these creatures out there. We can speculate. We can hear stories. I saw it do this. I saw it do that. Okay, cool. So, Bob saw it disappear. All right. Mary saw it climb a tree. All right. Matthew saw it drop down into a spider crawl. So let's get into that. When we were up there in, Heber Springs, I've talked about it numerous times of the show. And like you were saying too, it's all funny games until it's looking at you. And it was,
Yeah.
it was looking
Well,
right at me and Chris. I'll never forget this. He was looking right at me and Chris. I'm getting closer. I'm walking up towards it. And in my peripheral, it was at night. We had big lights on. I could see Chris. He had drawn his sidearm and he had
yeah.
it at the ready.
Yeah.
And I'm walking up, and my mind, I'm going, don't draw your weapon. Don't draw your weapon. And then it blinked. And when
Mhm.
it blinked
Yeah.
at me is when I took a step back and I went, oh, okay, you're real. You're real.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but again,
I, I
you know,
I get teased about carrying my weapon. In fact, I just bought the other day for our ministry, kind of funny, and I don't get any money for this, but I bought a burner. Have you heard about them where you use the cartridge? It's less lethal
uh-uh.
weapons. I bought one the other day. Sean Hannity was promoting them on his show, and the reason that I bought this for our ministry, and it's $500, they're cheaper ones, is I wanted a less lethal weapon that maybe I could use to get out of a situation without having to really shoot somebody, you know. And so I paid 500. Our ministry paid $500 for that, and I went out and shot it the other day, and it shoots kind of like a pepper spray, and it
Okay.
would cause somebody to go down, but you're not going to necessarily kill them. and it would give a chance because I feel responsible, Matthew, to get my team out of there. When things
Yes.
go south, and so we're going to start carrying that with us. And, of course, I'm going to carry the other, because people say, well, you'll get in trouble someday. Well, I'd rather be judged by 12 and carried out by 6, and
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to get in that car if I can with my team. But we tease about it a little bit, but the truth is this stuff is real. I mean, the paranormal is real. And what you experienced when you saw that thing blink, that was reality. And I
It
think
sure
it probably
was.
clicked with you that, oh my gosh, this is real.
Yeah, my problem was too, once it blinked, I took a step back. I was like, oh, okay, you're real. I started getting closer.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
so, and like you were talking about the team too, though. I feel a sense of responsibility always for my team. I have a great team that goes out in the woods with me, and a lot of
Yeah.
respect for my team that I have. And I
Yeah.
listen to their
Sure.
their ideas, their thoughts.
And
I give
they
Jacob.
trust you. Yeah.
I hope
They
so. I
trust you.
really do.
Well, they
And
wouldn't
these,
go out there if they didn't trust you. I wouldn't get out there with you unless I trusted you. So,
I
and I
appreciate
would trust
that.
you. I would trust you, but it is reality. And one thing in the book, the reason I wrote this book, and it was hard to write it. We had a lot of opposition to it. The experiences of the paranormal. But what's interesting, there's a lot of books about experiences of the paranormal, but the second part of the title, real conversations with demons. And we cover a lot of that in the book where we've had literally conversations with the demonic, and it's amazing what they will say and what they do. And I think your audience will enjoy reading it. We didn't write it to make a lot of money. I wrote it as a tool, but I have been surprised. It has sold thousands of copies out there, and it's getting out there more and more. Someday, if it pays for itself, wonderful. I hope it does. If it doesn't, that's fine. We invested in it because I want people to know this stuff's real, and I want them to know there's people out there that are trained to help them when they need help.
Okay, now, so the book is available on Amazon, correct? That's what Miss Barbara was saying earlier?
Yeah.
Correct. You can get it on Amazon or at paranormal-experiences.com.
All right, and so
That's
everybody
our
out there who's
website.
not watching us on YouTube, it's called the title of the book is Experiences of the Paranormal: Real Conversations with Demons, sorry, plural, written by
Yes,
Terry
plural.
Fox. So that's Terry Fox, Fox, like Fox Mulder from X-Files for you older
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And so for
Matthew,
everybody watching,
the first chapter, I wrote it when I was a law enforcement officer in Texas, and I worked a case with true Satanists. When we haven't talked about that tonight too much, but there is a field of dangerous Satanists that are active. And that first chapter, people will be very interested in that because I was introduced to it through law enforcement, and there were 2 teenagers I helped to end up having babies, and both of those babies were sacrificed, and all that was documented. And that woke me up as a pastor and a police officer that there is a dark side to the paranormal. There is Satan is real, Lucifer is real, the demons are real, and we laugh. And of course, the people that are involved in some of that stuff are not going to walk around in a black cape during the daytime. It will shock you that we found that there were police officers involved, the Satanists. There's preachers that are Satanists in Arkansas. Sometime when we're on the air, I'll tell you some stories about that. The enemy is all around us in different ways. But the first chapter, I think, of this book really will reveal that the battle is real. And there's, I'm not saying there's a Satanist in every house in town, but I'm saying they are out there, and they take their religion very, very serious. And so I think the book will open up a lot of eyes.
I do. I think they take their religion more seriously than about 90% of the Christians.
Probably.
And I'm not attacking anybody out there right now. I promise you, I'm not. I'm really not. But it's a fact. Sky is blue, water is wet. I mean, so it falls in that category. During the 70s and into the 80s, we had the big satanic push, the satanic panic is
That's
what,
right.
it was being called. And then also one day just gone, absolutely disappeared and gone. What's funny to me is I look at Hollywood in a lot of ways of being able to do a lot of soft disclosure. We're going to show you the truth, but we're going to put it in a way to where it's really not there. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
prime example, I like to use the movie Harry and the Hendersons. It came out in 1987,
Yeah.
right? If you watch Harry and the Hendersons, everything that Harry can do, it was reported before. They're talking about, what was going on. And, now the one scene that gets me the most in the whole, everybody goes the last scene when Harry walks off and all of a sudden the bush wasn't a bush, it was a Sasquatch, and they get up and move on. I look,
Yes.
the scene that gets me is that when Harry wakes up in the garage, he goes in the house, they have the big confrontation, the family runs outside, and he runs up and he sees the deer, the deer head up on the wall, and he freezes, and he's like, whoa. And he puts his hand around trying to feel the other side, and he realizes
Yeah.
it's dead. And then, everybody gets in their head, oh, he was mad that they were hunting. Oh, he grabs these animals, takes them to the garden, and starts to bury them.
Yeah.
Who does
Yeah.
that?
That's right.
In 1987, here they are. They're putting it in front of us. Look, he's real. We're going to make him a cartoon character and goofy, but this is what they do.
Yes.
So just, I use that one. So I think that there's a lot of movies during the 70s and 80s that involve Satanism. A ton. And it has some big names. I remember being a kid, and I think it was on, like Channel 16. It wasn't Fox at the time. It was like Channel 16. On the weekends, they'd always have Saturday nights, like the scary movies and stuff. And they did one called Running with the Devil. And I don't know why it stood out to me, but it was just family. It is a husband and wife couple and their friends in a motorhome. And it had a big, who was in that? Because there's actually a big Hollywood name in there. And they're going across like the Southwest. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull that up. They're going across the Southwest, and they're being chased by Satanists who are cops and everything you just described.
Yeah.
And they end up thinking they get away from them, and they did not. Let's see here. Let's see if we'll pull it up, because I got Van Halen popping up. I'm a Van Halen fan. Let's see here. Okay, yes, so I'll go back to that one. Run the Devil movie. Let's see here. No, see, now it's hidden. Yep, it's hidden. All right, I can't find it now, but I think like Peter, what's his name? Hang on, or Peter Fonda was in this movie.
Huh?
Let me Google him up. I'll tell you all the name of it. But so, there was a lot of movies that came out during that time frame. And, again, I think it was a lot of self-disclosure. A lot of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And look how popular that show was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Race with the Devil. Oh, my bad. Race with the Devil.
Race with
That
the
was
Devil.
the name of the movie. It's a cheesy, horrible movie, too. So I don't even know why it stood out to me. But I think what got to me was, as being in 6th, 7th grade at the time and watching that film and realizing how real, to me, it felt that was a real deal that could take place. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll be
real.
honest, I do enjoy the scary movies. I enjoy horror movies. I'm a fan. I enjoy them. I like a good scare, a good Hollywood jump scare. But yeah, that's pretty much all I do. Well,
I get asked about from media sometimes, and they expect for me to say the demonic movies are all fake, silly, they're not real. And they're always stunned when I look at the media and the cameras and I say, oh, wait. Unfortunately, they're more accurate than you think they are. And that stuns people coming from my perspective on that. Let me tell you, a lot of those, I'm talking about the really Rosemary's Baby, I'm talking about the real ones, not the ones you watch on YouTube for, just for fun. They're real. And I said, there's more truth in those movies. Now, I know Hollywood does the sensational stuff and explosions and all that. But don't think for a second that a lot of those are not inspired. They're very accurate. So anyway, I just want to mention that
I agree 100%.
they're not all fake out there. Those movies sometimes reveal the truth about the demonic.
I agree 100% because there's a lot of soft disclosure. I think a lot of films and movies come out. It's crazy.
Right.
But I am going to bring this in for a landing. So
Yep.
I'll tell you that right now. If you're okay with that one, So tell everybody real quick, though, where they can find you guys at. What was that?
Yep. And I wanted Barb to mention as we get ready to close
Go ahead, Barb.
about a movie that's out there that is pretty an interesting movie and I think pretty accurate about demons.
Yeah. There was a good movie called Nefarious. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it was wonderful.
Why does that sound familiar?
Glenn Beck supported it. It got some pretty good publicity, but
I think it had Keanu Reeves in it.
Let me pull that up. Why does that sound familiar?
it's worth your audience looking into that. What it does is it's well done, number one, but it explains how strategic the demons are. And it was well done and pretty doggone biblical, to be honest with you.
Let's see here. It's on Tubi. Okay, I can watch it. It's on It's on Pluto, Tubi. All right, and it's as Sean Patrick Flannery, who was in Boondock Saints, is in it. Glenn Beck is in it. Oh, no kidding.
Glenn Beck is actually in it. Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I love how it ends because they're getting ready to follow up with another movie, which usually are not as good as the first ones. But if somebody wants to know how demons work, that movie lays it out in a very, very, very unusual. The plot's unusual, but it is powerful. And then how to get hold of us in the book again.
Yeah. So our website where Terry's book is paranormal-experiences.com. And our ministry is Telling the Truth Ministry. And
our phone number, a lot of people still call us, and we don't mind that. It's area code 316-641-8832. That's 316-641-8832. That is my personal phone number. It rings 40 or 50 times a day, so I don't mind. And if you know somebody out there that's in trouble that needs help, we're here. And I love going everywhere, but I have to tell you, I love Arkansas. It's my home state. I ended up not pastoring here for 40-something years. I'm thrilled to be back home in Arkansas, and but we'll go anywhere. Anywhere. There's no charge for our team to come in. And if you know somebody that is in trouble with the dark side, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so very much. Well, let's see. Oh, and so before we close out, since you are a minister, you want to give us a closing prayer?
I'd love to. Jesus, I thank you so much for our time together tonight. And thank you, Lord, that we're talking about things that's unknown. We've discussed the paranormal, Lord, that we know that you're supernatural. You're a supernatural God, and you're a big God. And we know that the Bible is full of paranormal experiences that man cannot explain, but we know they're real. I ask you, Lord, to help people that are in trouble tonight. I know that there are suicide demons that are telling people to kill themselves tonight. There's death demons. We know that there's many different kinds of demons. There's demons of perversion. And Lord, I just pray right now that, and I believe in all my heart, there's somebody watching us that feels like there's no hope. And Lord, I pray that you will speak hope to them tonight through this podcast. I thank you, Matthew. I thank you, Lord, for this podcast. I ask you, Lord, to multiply it. May it go many, many places. We pray for the upcoming conferences that you'll have your hand on them. And Lord, this is about you. You're bigger than we are. We're little. You're big. And just use us for your glory, not ours, for yours. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so very much for that.
You enjoyed it. We'll be in touch. And thank you for having us tonight.
Now, thank you, Terry, for coming on. And we'll do another one coming up in the near future. I can promise you that. So everybody out there, oh yeah, we're going to have a good time. Everybody out there, thank you again for tuning in to another episode. I want to say thank you for all the likes and shares, subscribers out there. I appreciate it. All the comments. Y'all are doing great. Don't forget, we do have a Patreon. We have a Buy Me a Coffee. I do like my coffee. And of course, if you've had an encounter, you want to come on the show, email me, cryptids@gmail.com. Find me on social medias. Shoot me a message. It may take me a little bit to get back to you, but I will. And thank you so much again for the Foxes for coming on the show and sharing part of their journey. We will have them back on, and they're going to share some more encounters they've had. So until next time, here's the Missing a Good Beer.
I can do anything that I want. I can do anything that